So I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the Queens Botanical Garden in Flushing, New York. Here we have about 80 staff. We also have over 400 interns and about 2,500 event volunteers to support here annually to support our 39-acre garden. So in order to accomplish this, one of my jobs is to partner with community organizations and members to support the programs. And because Queens, New York has over 2 million residents and is one of, maybe if not the most diverse community in the United States, part of that engagement is important to include our commitment to diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion, and belonging as part of a key engagement effort. I started as a volunteer coordinator at the garden about 4.5 years ago, and I inherited the volunteer program, which was large but very disconnected. So there was mostly just paper and Excel. So there was paper timesheets sort of all over the garden. I had to, part of my training was you have to go to 6 different locations and find these paper timesheets and then transcribe them like once every couple of weeks and then make some sort of Excel document because we're going to ask you for reports. You know, it wasn't, I felt like we weren't utilizing everyone the best we could because it was so disjointed. So there was no centralized system except for that. A lot of paper, a lot of binders, a lot of, you know, transcribing of the information in various folders on our server. There was no cohesive volunteer experience. So, you know, each department had its own volunteers and their own way of managing them. But, you know, from department to department, volunteers were having completely different experiences. So there was no way to sort of, you know, kind of bring that in and have them have a cohesive experience. My background at Bank of America was sort of centralizing data. So I had an idea of what kind of system I might want to use. Love elegant solutions. So when I saw Better Impact, I said, oh, this user base is so wonderful. Does it have the meat and the bones behind it to kind of support the interface? And I realized that the other software company and Better Impact had a very, very similar back end. But what really sold me at that point was the front end was so usable. Better Impact was so customizable. I could put basically anything that popped up. I could make a customized field for it, add it to a profile, and then start collecting that information. So I have no paper anymore anywhere. People are like totally like befuddled how that's possible. It's a one-stop shop. I can look at someone's profile and get all of their information. I can get their, you know, the different documents. I ask them questions, like they have to fill out a form to volunteer. So I ask them like, why do they want to volunteer? I know their motivations. I know their t-shirt size. I know how to contact them. Anytime they have a contract they have to sign, it's all on their profile. It helps us define our opportunities. Especially because they have the whole section on activities. I can toggle the system so that they can see opportunities they're actually interested in. They can sign up for what they want to do, and I don't have to get so involved. There's certain things I want to be involved with, like getting to know them and having a presence and making sure they're onboarded and making sure they feel supported. I don't want to spend all that time like figuring out what shift people want to do. So if I can unload all of that stuff, that gives me like a lot more time to like get to know people. And my volunteers and interns tell me over and over again, like that's what makes them excited to be at the garden and to work with us, is to have those relationships. So some of my favorite features, volunteers on the clock. I love that because at any time I can see who's at the garden and what they're doing. So I can say, oh, my education group showed up and they're helping out in the herb garden. And then I can run down and say hi to them. And then the portal I love because volunteers can track all of their information. And they can, I mean, a lot of my volunteers, like, especially the younger ones, are trying for service hours. And so they can look, I was spending a lot of time like writing up reports on for people, like validating their service hours. But now they can just go on to that tab and look at all their hours and what they did, and they can have that proof right there. Very importantly is the reporting for me. So it's not only important to engage the volunteers, but there's a big need to build engagement within the staff of my organization as well. You know, get the buy-in from colleagues and supporters of our program. And this allows me on a very granular level to get all that data so I can just run it into my reports and show off all the good work happening.